Hello and welcome to today's Sovereign CEO episode. I'm your host, Jessica Ann, and I am joined by Amada Veres, who is a 5-1 manifesting generator on the cross of duality. She is an internal family systems expert and human design expert working with entrepreneurs, um, helping create massive transformation in various ways, which we're going to go into today. The big idea behind today's podcast episode is really exploring. And it's worth listening. If you are somebody, man or woman, if your business feels heavy, overgiving, or unsustainable, it's quite likely that you're running outdated relational patterns and you're moving from conditioning, not a business strategy. And the patterns that are sabotaging your business are often not strategy problems. They are relational imprints rooted in distorted masculine or feminine dynamics. So today we're really moving from overgiving, helping you to move from overgiving to sovereignty, rewiring distorted masculine and feminine patterns in business and in love. So, why do poor performers, why do high performers, women or men, get drained, feel over responsible, get stuck in patterns? It's not a business issue. This is a deeper pattern. So, Amada, from your work in internal family systems and human design, what are the most common patterns you see in men and women, all of your clients? I mean, we both kind of mostly work with women. However, I have men coming to me and I never turn them away because I can work with them really well. So, what are the patterns that you see in women that are actually rooted in relational conditioning or even men?
So, good morning, first of all. Happy to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah, so this is something that I've been working on for the last, I think, 11 years or so, when I started looking for my own feminine side. Because, I was raised that you have to go out and do it and get it and hustle and struggle. And, if you're not going to do it, nobody else will do it, things like this. So, I kind of had a small burnout when I was around 30 years old. I just had my son. I went back to work. So I had to combine the motherhood with being back to work, with being productive, with taking care of him. So it was overwhelming. And I took then, it was a femininity retreat. And it was very lovely. It was exactly on my birthday. And for the first time, I felt what the feminine energy actually meant. And you know what? It was scary. It was so scary because I was so not used to it. It was so unfamiliar to me. And then I started investigating more and more, why is this? What's the actual feminine? What's the actual masculine? What's the difference? What are we doing in here? And I stopped just running, a rat race and just went deeper into why am I doing this? Why am I feeling like this? Where is this all coming from? And in the beginning, I worked only on myself. So, there's transgenerational trauma, but there's also personal trauma. So I started working on my personal things. And, in the beginning, it feels so nice because you open up some drawers, you find out there are possibilities, you feel so filled with energy. And then after you kind of finish with doing your own personal things, that's when it becomes very interesting because you find out there are deeper layers that come through you, but they do not belong to you. So that's how I got to um, family constellations and transgenerational trauma, to see and epigenetics to see where all this is coming from. So what I found out in working with a lot of people during the last years with guided meditation, with human design readings, with family constellations as well, is that a lot of people don't know or have not been taught how to balance their inner energies and how to find themselves. I mean, who are you? This is also the question for generators and manifesting generators is who am I? Who am I underneath all of this with everything that I come from, everything that I am, with everything that I've learned? Actually, where am I in all of this? And then there are so many roles, that you're educated to take. You're educated what feminine looks like, what masculine looks like, what girls have to do, what boys have to do, how you should show your emotions or not. So we just get overwhelmed with all this external information, and then we kind of forget who we are. So balancing who we are, where we come from, where we are, where we want to go, our masculine and feminine sides is very important, to create that inner stability, which can get you for the long journey. Because if you don't have the inner stability, then it's very easy to lose yourself, either in no, no, overstretching yourself, either in being fearful. So, combining these two energies, the masculine, which protects, stands up for, but it's also the potential of something, with the feminine, which creates, moves, flows, and also manifests.
Mm.
Uh, this is something very important, and then you can really stand on your own 2 feet because you have two sides balanced, and from there on, impossible doesn't exist.
Beautiful. So the limitless self. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to probe you a bit on a
Hmm.
question, but before we do that, I just want to share something that dropped into my mind. Um, and it's kind of off topic, but it doesn't really matter that much.
Sure.
It's just a small thing. So I love that human design poses that question, and it poses it as a generator question. This question, when we learn human design, the idea is that for the generator and the manigens, the question is who am I, and for the projector, the question is who is the other.
Yes.
And I actually, with my third line, completely challenge that, because for me, I know I learn myself through the other, but I've always had a deep sense of self, and I've also always been able to know myself. That so the you know
Hmm. Hmm.
the Oracle of Delphi, and on and it's the question is, know thyself.
Hmm.
That has always been a consistent thing within me, and I wonder, when you have a defined identity center and a spleen with that configuration, whether knowing yourself is an innate part of your
Hmm.
internal journey. Because even though I've learned a lot about myself by through other people and the mirror, my I've always, as a one line as well, when we bring in the profile, I've always been very deeply introspective. And through my education role, be learning, I becoming a master. And again, I'm not a generator, but mastery is key for me. And that journey of mastery has always brought me on a journey of self. And as a result, one of the things that and I'm just saying this because it's really interesting,
Hmm.
a lot of clients who have worked with me have always said, the reason I know one of the things that you reflect and mirror to me so deeply is because the way you know yourself. And what I think they're talking about is not just knowing, it's the embodiment. And so that wisdom of having those 6 centers open, how many centers I've got 2 centers. How many centers? 9.
9. Yeah. So you have 7 open.
My maths. I have 7 open centers. I've had to learn a lot about my ego, in order to develop that wisdom to have
Hmm.
that energetic coherence. What's your thoughts on that? Even though it's slightly away, what are your thoughts on this new
Well,
one?
it's funny that you said you have 7 centers open because I have 7 centers defined. So I have everything from the throat below defined in a single definition.
Yeah.
So everything is connected, and it gets through to the throat through my 3420 channel, which is also my personality, sun and earth. So, um, what's funny? It is said in human design, right, that if you have open centers, you are more prone to conditioning.
Of course.
But if you have more defined centers, I found out that you're even more prone to conditioning because you have a lot of energy. And when you have a lot of energy, people see that, notice that, and they give you a lot of tasks. I was even told by a BG5 consultant that I have a very powerful chart. I have the energy of 10 people, of 10 people in general, and that, of course, is going to be expected 10 times more out of me. And then I said, yeah, but that's not fair. I'm not going to be paid 10 times more, right? No, because it's
Yeah,
just one
yeah.
person. And the thing is that for a defined sacral center, we're always given tasks outside ourselves.
Mm,
Go, do, carry, fix, put in the muscle, put in the effort. So you're given all these external tasks. When do you have time, to figure out who you are? You got to figure out on the way. And that's what I did for so many years because I have the first line on the design side. So I always questioned why. Why am I doing this? Why is this given to me? Why am I supposed to do this? Why are you coming to me with this? What do you see in me? Because also that fifth line, that makes a lot of projection. And I was told, I know you're the only one who can do this. I was like, no, I have absolutely no idea about the subject.
right.
And no, 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 no. I know you know. You just don't want to. So there's a lot of pressure, It's like my fifth line tells people that I can do something, and somehow they see me as their last resort, like you're my last hope. If you don't do it, nobody's going to do it, and we're all doomed. And then the first line likes to investigate, like, hold on, hold on. If I need to do this, why do I need to do this? Then, because you mentioned about the ego and the spleen, um, I have them connected through the 26th, 44th channel. So I like doing things for others if they ask me to, but I need recognition for it.
Mm,
And then recognition makes it also feel safe. So then I feel safe next to them. However, that's not a case because, when they feel like they have something to, use, then they ask more and more. And with a defined ego, what what's really a trap is that people keep you in that donkey and the carrot move, like if you do this, then you're going to get what you asked for. And
mm.
then you do it and you say, here it is, I delivered. Now give back. And then, yeah, but it's not enough. It's not okay. You have to do more. So you're always kept in this loop outside of yourself, into what the others think you should do, their opinion about you, and also the tasks that you're given. So you don't have a lot of time to spend within yourself. Yeah. And when I have, as an example, I have a lot of energy. Yeah. And when somebody has this amount of energy, it takes a while to get to know yourself, but
Mm.
you need time for that. So you're not allowed time because, hey, there are so many things to do. You're sitting again. Why are you sitting? Again, you're not doing, be productive. Go out there and do something. Why don't you do something with your life? So it's always this pressure of doing something. So always thinking about what to do, and you don't have a lot of time to spend in your body. So this is how I see, the fact with knowing yourself. It's very important for a defined sacral center because we don't really have time and we're not given time to do that.
I think what you've hit on is really interesting as well, because what I'm hearing is a society and a culture set up by distorted masculine template. So today we want to talk about what it means, what healthy masculine energy looks like, what that balance of the healthy feminine and what the distorted. But what you're describing is um, a symptom of a culture that is set up for doing, slavery almost. So the projector becomes the slave because they amplify the energy and they do more and more until they know themselves,
Hmm.
until they become energetically masters of how to use their sacral energy effectively and how they learn to know. And what I'm hearing from you is that and what is key is that generators and many gens need to understand how to become sovereign with their energetic power and to direct energy in an appropriate way and learn
Hmm.
that mastery around their own personal value and what they can commit to without becoming the slave to the societal,
Yeah.
cultural
Yeah.
distortion that actually we're dismantling right now in society. And
Hmm.
as more people come into this work to know themselves, to create from energetic alignment, to create in sustainable ways, using their human design to show up, we are dismantling what has been leading the earth for thousands of years since, I guess, when I mean, I don't know the history because haven't ever gone into depth, but we see where the feminine was suppressed and denied through Christian religion. Yeah.
If I might just intervene there a bit, I did study history. I hated it in school, but I started loving it once I went to studying various religions, so I kind of read all the religious books to see what they mean. And to be honest, their underlying message is the same.
Yeah.
Okay, be nice and do nice things, okay? Um, but then we used to be hundreds of thousands of years ago, yeah, uh, not necessarily matriarchal society, but as we were nomads, and as a pregnancy takes 9 months, and it was not that easy to have it back then because of resources, because of lack of food and nutrients and things like this. Plus, there were way fewer people than nowadays. Yeah. So nobody had a clue after 9 months who was the father, but the mother was sure. So at least the mother, was known. She was there. She was, yeah. And so it was quite matriarchal, but we were nomads and we were hunter gatherers, and it was a totally different mindset. Uh, so we had to do with whatever, the um, nature provided, and that was it. But then agriculture was invented. And agriculture is static. And not just that it's static, it also brings predators because then there are all sorts of bugs and animals, that just go through your crops. Plus, suddenly you have neighbors that want your crops. So this idea of we need defense started showing up, and defense not just from animals, because until then it was just about predators, it was about animals. We were fighting, I don't know, with the lion, with the bear, with the whatever animals were back then. But then when agriculture came in, um, suddenly there was this need for protection.
Right.
And,
Interesting.
women were busy with kids, and they were busy with raising kids and making sure that the tribe does not vanish, and, and the next generation is taken care of. Because, yeah, life was not easy. The lifespan was not that big. So a lot of things needed to be done. And that's when men started becoming what the actual protectors and the guardians. And, they started fighting with other people as well. Now, I'm not saying that we were not fighting other people before this, because of course it was still scarcity mindset. I mean, if you gather all those berries from the bush, then I won't have for my tribe. But again, there were not so many people around. However, when agriculture came in, suddenly we needed to protect ourselves from the others. And that's how battles between tribes started showing up, and for resources, and for who has a better land, who has easier access, and who has more water and things. So I believe that's when we made the switch from a matriarchal society to a patriarchal society, but also to this a society where the main fear was towards other people. So we had to. So suddenly, our predators were not out from the nature,
Mm,
yeah, like the elements or animals. It was another human being, for
mm,
sure. And then we started, becoming the apex predator, right? Because we don't really have natural predators nowadays. Uh, However, our brain did not develop with the same speed. So we still have that survival mode brain deep inside, that's always looking out for danger.
mm.
And it needs something because it feels like if we don't have danger, then what am I doing in here? I cannot relax. I cannot relax. I never know when somebody's going to come out from the bushes. But nowadays, it's just another human being. So This created a distorted society, as I call it, in which we live nowadays, in which we think that if the other one has, then I won't have. If they win, I lose. This polarity, so you either choose one, either the other one. So you eat or be eaten.
Mm.
But there's nobody to actually eat you. There are no animals hunting us in the streets. It's just people. But okay, we needed to find a new reason for our defense system, so another, I don't know, motive for, okay, why am I afraid of? And we built, as I said, this society with all these jobs, with all this hustle, with all these um rules. And I hear men complaining that you don't know how tough it is nowadays, for a man to make it out in the society and be successful. And then I say, yeah, but this is a world created by you, if you think about it. It was created on rules of battles and wars and struggle. Why? So that's my question. And I think the answer would be because we don't know how to balance these two things. We don't know how to relax and enjoy. So okay, go out there, work, be productive, but then come back and enjoy and look at the things just satisfied, like in the good generator and manifesting generator way, satisfaction. But we don't take that time anymore, to just lay back, look around and be, like, look how beautiful it is and how satisfied I am by what I've done. Because you're always told that you have to do more, improve yourself, better yourself day by day. Take no rest, take no vacation. I know people who work during their vacations. I know people who answer their emails at 3 a.m. on a Saturday. And, it's so, where are you enjoying life? So where's that feminine side? It just relaxes and enjoys and receives because we are not used to receive the fruits of our labor.
Mm.
Like, yeah, of course you did it. Good. Now next level, next KPI, next target, and so on and so on. And maybe you take, I don't know, 15 minutes, the 15 minutes of glory to enjoy and celebrate something, but then it's over. Okay, 15 minutes. So you work for years. Like I did, I wrote a book in thermodynamics. I worked for 2 years on that. And I had absolutely 30 minutes, I think, of yay, nice, congratulations, woo, here it is, the launch of the book. And that was it. And then the question came, when do you write the next one? Well, hold on. Can we just take a break in between? But the breaks, so enjoying that feminine mood, yeah, because enjoying is a feminine thing. You receive the satisfaction of your labor, yeah. That is not allowed. It's seen as laziness. It's like, okay, you did it. Now why are you sitting? Now go do some more because I know you're capable. I know you can do. And this is, in my opinion, the distorted masculine that just wants more and more and more.
Mm.
And where to?
Yeah,
Was the end.
absolutely. So for me, and I know we've both got Gene Key 40, Gate 40. I know you have that whole channel defined, right?
Hmm.
87. So for me, I had what I considered to be a deep masculine drive to be able to execute and bring things into fruition.
Hmm.
So as a teacher, I've got Gate 54 in my son ambition. Um, and it's also tribal, even though I don't have that, my definition is integration. There is that 59 and that 50 hanging gate. So that tribal energy was something that was really important to me. Community, raising my community, raising children to be empowered. So that there was a very, and I've got 28 defined. So I had a very strong sense of purpose when I was in education. But in order to be sustainable, or to sustain the drive and the ambition that I had to be the best open will center there, to be the most effective and to have mastery over pedagogy and my practice and get results, there was a deep, deep, deep sense of responsibility for my learners' results. I could only create that consistent output and productivity by taking stimulants. And that was something at the time I didn't realize was a distorted masculine within myself. Obviously, I'm a projector. So I'm taking stimulants on to produce, to live in, to work on a generator level.
Mhm.
But I'm bringing this back to the concept of masculine and feminine within. So the drive was there, the passion, the love of the job was there, the love of the role, like, but in order to be able to produce at that standard required me to live as my not as someone I was not. That led to giving to depletion, burning out. And underneath it, as I went on my journey of awakening, I found this actual underlying patterns were not just because I had a deep passion to be great and to be masterful and to get results, but there was a deep underlying need to earn love, a deep underlying not that my value was innate, but that my value came from how productive I was or the results that I got. So because of my how it links to the father wounds and how the masculine shapes your reality, because my father was a collapsed masculine, I ended up creating what I call the wounded feminine, wounded huntress, who became this figure who had to survive for herself, protect and provide for herself because that hadn't been a model. And that showed up in very distorted ways. So this to me was distorted masculine. Now, when I burnt out and I became I ended up giving all many people know this because they listen all the time. Thousands of people listening all the time. I gave away all my possessions. I wandered the earth. I awakened to all these synchronicities, and what I f- and I so I threw away. I wanted no responsibility. I just want to follow the signs. I just want to live in flow. So my huntress was killed, and my mystic emerged, the wild woman, this archetype within me, and we're seeing all this imbalance again. So I wandered the earth. I had no money in my pocket. Oh, a house turns up. Wow, I've got no food. Oh, look, there's food. Great. But I'm not in charge of my destiny. I am flowing and it's great. And I'm learning that I can be supported and held by life for the first time. But 7 years go by and I'm not executing. I'm flip-flopping around. My business is not becoming better. It's inconsistent. My revenue is inconsistent. My visibility is inconsistent. Everything, I'm not balanced. And so what I found was that my masculine, although I had started to embody and live my true feminine and had integrated to some extent deeply understanding feminine flow, there was huge imbalance everywhere. And my masculine had never been cultivated to become a healthy masculine. So to be decisive, to have this focused energy, to have clear boundaries. That's why I was overworking still. I was producing HD business blueprints. They were taking me weeks to produce, and I was charging 333 pounds for something that was taking me still like 20, 30 hours to produce. Because the pattern hadn't shifted.
Mhm.
So I had to look within and I found many aspects. There was two areas in my gene keys. I'm going to come back to you in a minute on this because I'm showing you and I want to ask you. There was two things that you said that I want to bring it back to. My 50, what I found when I went deep and developed my own shadow protocol and ID shift system was that my gene key 50 was leading the show in the undeveloped way. So I had a deep fear of responsibility because I'd never cultivated a healthy masculine and I'd never cultivated a healthy relationship with responsibility. Either I felt over responsible or I just didn't want any at all. And I'm like, "It's all good, I'm in my flow." And, um, and the universe always provides. It's like, "But where's your role in this?" You know? And so I dealt with that last year because I took a year out of my business because it was like, "No, you've got shit to do on this
Mhm.
planet, and you're not gonna do it in this way." So I found that, I solved that. I became very consistent as even as a projector. I call it commitment over but over consistency, but things are coming into fruition. I found that my gate 9 was completely imbalanced. So again, this feeling scattered, taking too many things, gene key 11 as well. So gate 11 is my Jupiter.
Oh,
And the
nice.
money, that's why the money's not coming. Bad. And I've got culture 9.3, IQ 9.2. So these energies are very heavy within. So once I resolve that, stuff starts, higher premium clients, paying in full, things happening, coming out of nowhere. The podcast starts, the business gets codified, things are happening. We are going to build the Healing the Huntress retreat. All these things are starting to happen because I finally resolved those core issues. So it wasn't my business, it wasn't the strategies, it was this deep internal imbalance. Now, tell me, and then my feminine, all this time where I thought I was in, my feminine power. No, my feminine needed that internalized strength masculine so that she could be so I can be that creative force. I can surrender and let go of outcomes. I can flow and not be rigid and not overwork and overcommit. And this, oh, chill. I just got the fullest body chill there. And that is what I want to help my clients really resolve in the sovereign CEO initiation and leadership package. But tell me, when we first started, you said to me you went to that feminine retreat and embodying the feminine felt very scary to you.
hmm
Why?
So, I'm on the cross of duality is, well, duality 2, actually, because I'm born in November. And I oscillated a lot between these extremes. And also, my attraction sphere is 15. So, the
Mhm.
gate of extremes. Yeah. Uh, yeah. And I was either like, I'm going to go dress, very like a boy, go out there, be friends with the guys, be one of their bros. And, I was either like that, either like, oh my God, I wish somebody would choose me, and nobody chooses me, and I had all this distorted masculine and feminine energies. But to be honest, I never had very good examples.
Mm.
So I knew that there was something else. I knew that there was a way to balance everything, but I didn't know how, and I could not imagine it because I had never seen it. So when I went to this retreat, it was through guided meditation and neuro linguistic programming, and we made download, to see how it feels and get this idea. But because I had never seen it before or experienced it, when the download, because that's how it's called, the download of okay, how it feels like actually came through the body, I felt like, well, I don't know what to do with this. I suddenly had different gestures, different ways of thinking, and a lot of fear. So the fear was huge, and I wasn't afraid of it. I was afraid of being a woman in this world. So
Right.
that was the biggest fear. That was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to protect myself like this. I feel so vulnerable, so out in the open, so exposed. So, oh my God, I don't want to get out of the house anymore. And I couldn't sleep that night. I had chills all over my body. I had goosebumps, so, and I just could not rest. I had very shallow breathing. It was awful. And then the next day I went to the facilitator, which I admired and I still do admire a lot. And I think, yeah, she's, like a role model for me. She's a projector. She's a one three projector as well. Yeah, and I told her about this, and she said, "Well, you just have to let it, sink in, and whatever fears come up, take them one by one and work them." I'm an MG. I wanted to take everything and fix everything in once, and then I had a mental overload because you cannot take all the trauma, all the feminine trauma through all the generations. It's huge, and it's creepy and it's cruel, and you cannot take it all in just 15 minutes, of therapy or I don't know, any sort of technique. So I said, okay, I will postpone this, the feminine a bit. I'll get back to my very familiar masculine, okay, and investigate more. And I started investigating, and then I realized that I had this. the masculine that I saw, so the models that I had were men, but men are, masculine does not mean men, okay? And feminine does not mean women. And then I started looking for models and for examples. And the best ones I could find back then was the sun as the model of the masculine. It's just there. It stays. I mean, it doesn't really stay, but for us it stays, okay? It's there, it's fixed. The planet revolves around it, but it stays. And it just gives unconditionally. It provides, is the provider, right? So it gives heat and light and everything that's needed for Earth to create life. And then Earth would be the feminine, because Earth is the one that nourishes, that yeah, actually gives life and gives us food and makes the bodies and makes the flowers and makes the plants and everything that is the matter. So that was my first experience, and I was like, whoa, but I had no clue until then about what Mother Earth meant, or about why the divinity would have ever been seen as masculine. But that's when I realized, like, hey, if you'd have this polarity, yeah, this goes, this works for me. So it was a good example. And then you need both of them to create life. So you cannot exclude one or the other. Too much sun, everything is going to dry out. Too much um, planet, let's say, too much Mother Earth, and a lot of things can happen. But again, you're not going to have life, because you can have volcanoes, tsunamis, tornadoes, and all those things, right? So there needs to be a balance between these, so you can create things, and
Yeah.
so create life. That's how I got to my own research and conclusions, with what these actually mean. And what you said is also very familiar to me, going from one extreme to the other, either very masculine, but a distorted one, because anything that's very is distorted, either a very feminine. And the models that I had about this was that the masculine is aggressive, is, I don't know, goes out there and just has big muscles and does things, makes things happen. Um, and then the feminine is somehow weak, a bit sick, if you think about the women and the examples that we have in the romance books from the 1800s, 1900s, right? Pale, always very frail, and needs to be rescued. And I did not want to be like that. I was like, oh, hell no. So I was more like with the sword in my hands, because I have the 2838 channel. So I have the channel of struggle, gate of warrior. And I was always just fighting there, and yeah, very feminine with the sword in my hand and going,
Boudica,
yeah,
Joan of Arc.
yeah, exactly. But, it was none of these. It
Ah,
was none of it. It was somewhere in between. However, it's so easy. I call this. So um, this is a philosophy that I invented. It's called Johnny's pyramid.
yeah.
Now, what's Johnny is a very good friend of mine, and the pyramid is like this. So Johnny should sit here on top of the pyramid, but actually, it's always easier to slide either in one extreme, either in the other, because it's quite difficult to stay like in a balanced way on top of it. So, yeah, he was the first one that I noticed from the outside. That one day was very nice, and the other day was very upset, and it was like, don't you want to find a point in between and just keep it like that? Like, wouldn't it be easier than going through from one extreme to the other? So that's how I came with this notion of Johnny's pyramid. And I think we're all a bit on Johnny's pyramid. It's so easy to just slide on one side and just stay there because it's easy. However, you're not sitting straight.
Mm.
You're a bit on one side, and then, but to stay on top of it, you got to keep yourself balanced. And that's where family constellations
Okay.
came into play.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, because I worked on myself a lot. So for almost 10 years with guided meditation. Then I'm in my seventh year of my human design experiment now. So the first cycle is complete. Um, but then it's not just me, because we never come as a blank page. So our bodies, our vehicles, like they're called in human design, right? They come from other people that came from other people, and so on. So we know about DNA, we know about genetics, we know we inherit aspects and gestures, and it's amazing if you study this because some people that were adopted, they still had gestures from their biological parents. So it doesn't go away. We are not born from scratch, blank. And then I started investigating in the transgenerational trauma, like why are we raised the way we're raised, right? So why are because okay, we come from parents, but we also land in an atmosphere, in a situation ship, right? So that family can be running away from war, running away from famine, be very rich and envied, so that family already has a vibe around it. And then we land in it, and then we grow up with it. So that's the primary conditioning that we get. And as children, we are very open, and we, especially in the first 2 years, and then in the first 7 years, actually, we absorb a lot of this information, unspoken information. Yeah, it's not spoken education, it's unspoken. So you see how they react, you see how they interpret fear, how they interpret hope, drive, and then you think that's normal because monkey see, monkey do, right? Um, but then that's not you. So that's just part of it. And on top of that, you come and you build up on top of that, and you build on the foundation that you got. But who's investigating in that foundation? And a lot of people nowadays say, yeah, of course, everybody just blames it on the parents and on childhood, and everything just begins there. Actually, it begins in the point that you started existing. So the pregnancy matters a lot. The vibe, the atmosphere during the pregnancy, yeah, matters a lot because the unborn child, takes a lot of hormones from the mother and feels everything through the mother, right? What's outside. And then they come in this world. And then nowadays, you come in a hospital, you're handled by people, not with care, not with, I don't know, um, you're not handled in a nice way. I mean, I don't know if you've seen how kids are handled after they are born, because I saw mine and I was like, why are you holding him by one leg? Just like, hold him nice, please. It's a child. um, yeah, so everything is stored actually in our memory, even if you don't remember it. The first moment when a neuron is formed, uh, we already start recording information.
Mhm.
So nothing goes away. It's just not easily accessible. But then if you go in the subconscious with different techniques, yeah, you can access it. But also there's genetic memory, and more studies are done on this. How, they did it on rats, but Bert Hellinger, so who's the founder of family constellations, he did it on people, and not just people that survived the Gestapo. He did it on their children and offspring.
Yeah,
And he found out that their children, even if they never met that person that died in a concentration camp,
yeah,
the children still had that fear,
yeah,
still had those triggers.
yeah,
So something was passed down to them. And of course, it was the genetic information about um, danger,
yeah,
even if it was a danger that they've never felt on their own skin, but they were still looking out for it, and it was still holding them back from different things. So
yeah,
it created a distorted reality in their minds, which had nothing to do with the actual reality that they were living. So they were just carrying these stories forward. So after working a lot on myself, I hit kind of rock bottom, me, myself, and I started investigating into this, and it's very interesting. I got led to somewhere around the 1400s, actually. So that's how many generations that it can take for a belief or a fear, to still be passed on.
and I just want to say, I think what you're talking about is really beautiful for the people that are listening, because I know that the people are listening are cycle breakers. And so it's so beautiful that we are the ones that are actually shifting and transforming and coming in back into awareness. of how to break those patterns, all those ancestral epigenetic
Mhm.
uh, distortions in the DNA, which is why gene keys is such an amazing system to really work through if you're called to that work.
Mhm. Well, with gene keys, I studied it, but it just on the side with human design. So I was more drawn to the human design because it's more visual, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And I also like the explanation of the aura types because I definitely can recognize myself in the manifesting generator. So not generator, pure
They work
generator.
together. I think they
Yes.
are a system that work together, but
Yes.
they also then give you the foundation for IFS, for the kind of energetic work that I do, or the shamanic
Mhm.
work, or the internal, because it gives you a very clear map. So I keep
Exactly.
talking about this and I keep bringing it back. What I help people do is make the universal individual.
Mhm.
So we have these universal problems of poverty, of intimacy, of fear, of relational patterns, wounded, whatever, wanting to earn love. But then we look at it on how does this show up on an individual level, and
Mhm.
then through our own part. And yeah.
And you know what's funny? I had so many moments in which I sat down with myself and I thought, this is not mine. And
Hmm.
I felt, this is not mine. I don't know why this is showing up, but this is not mine. So I have to see where it comes from. And actually, for a lot of people, what they're going through is not theirs.
Yeah.
And that's the catch. But it is familiar, right? And what's familiar creates a pattern and creates predictability. So the mind likes it. Now, breaking patterns has two, I would say, two, let's say, difficult aspects. First of all, is for your own brain, what's going to be on the other side? I
Mm.
don't know because I know all this. I know I was born with these stories. I know them with this atmosphere, with this vibe. I know it.
Yes.
If not this, then what? So
Right.
that's the first fear that people have to overcome about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one is when somebody in the system starts changing, the whole system feels it and the whole system needs to rearrange itself because it's like you have that's why it's called the constellations. It has nothing to do with the stars, but you have a lot of people connected, yeah, so they look like a constellation if you draw them on paper. And then the moment one of them switches a bit, it draws the entire system after them. And you know what, the other participants of the system don't want that because a system always wants to keep its inertia. It loves stability. Even if it's a messed up and a toxic stability, it doesn't matter. It's stable. It's stable. We know it. We can deal with it. It's known. Even if it's bad, it's known. And then as soon as somebody starts, investigating and just disturbing the waters around, the others come back as in, stop doing this. Why do you do this? What's not, it was good enough for us. It was good enough for everybody from our family and our kind. Why isn't it good enough for you? What more do you want? We never had that. We never did that. Why do you want to do it? Why do you want this? Why are you disturbing my well settled peace that I'm used to? So these are two main obstacles, I would say, for people. However, the universe has a very interesting way of putting this. Sometimes it gives people an inner wish, and I actually wrote a post on my page about this. It's like something that you still want. So my motivation in human design is desire.
Okay. Now
And
neat.
yeah, so with desire, there's something like something burning, like you want something. You don't like what you see around and you feel that inner, but yeah, but still, I want a bit something else, a bit more, but and it doesn't let you. So what I found out working with people in family constellations is that everybody has this inner wish that triggers all these changes. Like, for example, having a happy family, having a loving partner, having
Mm.
a successful business because nobody else has had it before in their family. Yeah. And they still want it. And for that, they're going to work on themselves, investigate a lot, find out a lot, change a lot. So by the time they actually achieve that dream, they are a totally different person. And they have dismantled so many things from their own story, from the story of the family. And it's like that's a new, fresh start. So it's like a turning point for all the generations, for this person, or persons. And from there on, it's a different story. It's a different vibe. And it was a very interesting question that I was asked during the family constellations training. How would you like to be remembered as an ancestor? Would you like to be the one that people say stories about, or the one that people just forget and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, here's a picture, maybe. So this is what the family constellations do. They help you dig in something that's not yours, so you can bring balance in there and understand where all these things and fears and misconceptions come from. And you see them clearly, and then you see the dynamic, and then you can approach them logically, as in, yeah, okay, this is what happened to my ancestors, but am I in the same situation? No. So then why do I have the same fears?
Mm.
'Cause this is not mine.
I
So I
love.
think it's a very good way of grounding yourself as well in the present, because otherwise you're just haunted by um, past experiences which are not yours.
Mm. I love that question. What do you want to be remembered for? What kind of ancestor do you want to be? Because it's such a 28 question, gate 28 legacy, right? It's like, what's my
And
legacy?
27 as well. 27 as well. You're nurturing the new generation, right? So yeah, that too.
Okay, so is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with today?
Um, I know there are a lot of people nowadays facilitating family constellations. I've also met people that were not happy with those processes and they didn't like it. And what I'm what I would like to tell them is try some more, just like you have to try a couple of times to find a good therapist. Maybe you have to try a couple of times to also find a good facilitator for family constellations, one that you resonate with. Is just going to one family constellation and not being very satisfied with it should not be the end. Another thing would be, do not expect to solve 14 generations of family trauma in one constellation. Now, I tried. I've been there. I've done that. So I'm an MG. So let's just do everything now so then we can live. Actually, the living part is this one with just going through all this. I have to admit it's about the journey, although I love a lot the destinations. And it took me a while to accept that it's actually about the journey. So, um, I would say just give it time. Don't try to rush through it. And I also combine, in my practice, I combine family constellations with human design because I saw so many themes just passed down through generations, and not just for the lines or the process, which is fascinating, but for the gates and their placement. So you can see somebody had gate 28 in their design moon, so attraction, right? But then the next generation has it in Mars. So it's a bit of a different story. It's a different flavor. So then you can figure it out. So that person was emotionally, let's say, so your ancestor was emotionally connected to a purpose, right? Maybe they did not manage to fulfill it during their lifetime. So now you, as their offspring, you have it in your design Mars, which means core wound, which means the thing that will trigger you and fuel you, right, to show up in life. So the thing that you have to work on the most. And I find these things fascinating to see how they combine in family constellations because I never tell people up front. So I have the charts, we start the constellation, and then the charts actually help me navigate the constellation and just steer it and bring it. What are we going to bring? That ancestor or that ancestor. So what's the connection in here? And yeah, of course, sometimes we cannot have the charts of all the ancestors. In that case, we're just going to have a family constellation without the human design part. But having this extra information, I found is very helpful.
I like that. I like the way that you're combining the two systems because of, I believe that, and I believe, and this is what I do because, and we're both one lines, I guess, as well. But the combination of human design as a tool with whatever your other systems are enhances. That's what I mean about the universal to the individual,
Mhm.
because it gives us such great insight, and then we can actually zoom in on the nuance of things in a way that you might not have if you don't have that unique blueprint. That's somebody's actual consciousness and their energetics. Anyway, okay, so
Yep.
today, um, if you have any questions in the comments, please drop the questions. I would love people to start generating conversation. Any key takeaways, any questions, and if you want to get in touch with Amada, her information will be in the description. If you and she has a Facebook page, she has a group for MGs as well. What's the group called?
Manifesting generators in the world.
Manifesting generators in the world. If you want to work with me on the Sovereign CEO Leadership Initiation Package, or if you want a very specific shadow transformation experience and energetic identity recalibration, reach out. My email and information is going to be in the description as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you too. Thank you very
Bye.
much. Bye. Bye.